result to swallow. What were your overall thoughts of, firstly, the performance of your team and how the game unfolded?
I think we had 35 minutes with good possession, with good control of the game. The rest of the game was we create the best chances. Sometimes we drop the lines a little bit to feel comfortable and to use the pace to make transitions. I think it's tough to deal with the loss, but when you go to the penalties, anything can happen. Today was not our day.
Do you feel there's a difficult period of time in trying to lift your players up in confidence-wise, because the results don't necessarily fall into place?
Yeah, it's everything. Not just the results, but also the performance sometimes are not the best. So we have to find something to, and we believe a lot on what we are doing. So in that way, we teach them. And I feel that we are learning, we are improving. Sometimes we cannot play 90 minutes the same way, but we are increasing the time that we play with good possession, more confident. So it's that way. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. We already know that this season is going to be like that. So we are going to face the next opponent and try to win.
The positives are you got a couple of young players who came on today again as well, and Obi and Heaven, who played really well as well.
Yes, they are players with talent, and then when you have these moments with some injuries, they have to be ready, because it's our tradition to put young players to play, and especially in this moment we have to focus on everything, because the future is right there, and the young kids that can feel the club and that can change things sometimes for us without buying players. And I think Shido did really well today. Of course, he's a little bit naive in some moments, but you felt that inside the box he won some ball, and that is something that the strikers have, and he has. Aiden was really relaxed during the game, so I'm quite happy for them, but it's a tough first game for them.
One of the players that's been often criticised this season is Andre Onana. He was exceptional again tonight.
Yes, and I think he can cope with that. He's really confident. He suffers with the mistakes. People can think that because he has that behaviour on the pitch, but he suffers a lot. And that is also important for me, that I feel that, and I see that my players are suffering when they do mistakes, when we lose. And he does that, so he has to prepare for the next game. He will be there to fight for the win.
And finally, the next game is against Real Sociedad in Europe. What do you tell your players already about that game and trying to lift them after tonight's performance?
It's just to focus on what we have to do. The only way that I know how to help my players is not to trying to push them up and with kind words. It's just to focus on the next game, give them the characteristic of the opponent. We are going to evaluate this game. This is the only way to gain confidence, because I don't know how to teach my players to be more confident. They have to win. We need to win. If we win, we will be more confident. So the focus is on the next game.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Mulcairn's posing the questions there. He's talking about the long term, and I think he's almost got a free hit there, isn't he, this season, in a sense, because they've brought him in. It's not his team. It's not a team that can play, actually, really, in the style that he wants. So he needs time. Do you think he'll get it?
Yeah, I do think he'll get it, and I think it's not a free hit, because I think you'd expect a bit more from Manchester United than what we're seeing since he's been in. It's very difficult to come in during the season and not have his pre-season to implement his plans with the team, but he has to look to the future and moving forward. And how can he, firstly, he says win the Premier League, how can he compete to get a bit further up the table? I think that's the next step for them, but ultimately the goal moving forward over the next few years is to try and do that.
You had, sorry Mike, you had a little go, obviously you've had a few goes at management. Ultimately, you can only deal with what you've got as players, isn't it? Isn't it about the talent on the pitch? You can only do so much.
Yeah.
However much you know the game, however great a player you are, however strong a management are, the best managers are the ones that got the best players.
Yeah, of course, and I think that's normal. But I think the issue maybe of looking too far ahead is what we're seeing over the last 10, 15 years is managers are not getting that time.
No.
So you have to be a little bit selfish as a manager and say, okay, if I don't do it now, then I might not at that time. And maybe, you know, I think that is a little bit naive to say we're looking to win the Premier League because from where they are now, they're a long way off that.
Miles off.
Yeah, but you've been inside the club, Man United, obviously a huge club. But what's happened? Why has there been such a fall off? You know, you've been in the dressing room, you've played with the players, you know what it's like to be successful for Man United. How can it go from winning trophy after trophy to then now we're talking about people talking about relegation battle? You know,
I have no idea. I think since Sir Alex Ferguson left, David Gill left. I think they've tried various different managers, some top managers as well in terms of obviously Mourinho, Van Gaal, David Moyes, very experienced manager. Everyone's been in and tried to get more out the players, out the team, and obviously we're seeing changes off the pitch with Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos coming in, and a lot of speculation of different changes with the staff, with certain things around the club. So I think everyone's a little bit on edge. I think certainly now, but over the last 10 years, there's been a slow decline of the football club, and they just need to try and get some consistency in what they're doing, whether that's with the manager, with the process, recruitment, and how they want to try and move forward. And I think
key, isn't it?
if they get that right, then they will start to get better. But
I think you could even go back to, you talked about when Alex Ferguson left and stuff, but if you look at Liverpool now, they've got a new manager in Arne Slot, and it's testament to how Jurgen Klopp left the club in a really good state.
And the structure above
is really good. That probably wasn't the case at the end of Sir Alex Ferguson's reign. I know they won the league that season, but it wasn't their best side. And a lot of their players, a lot of their great players, were coming to the very ends of their careers. And then I think from there, they've had problems. The academy wasn't delivering the players that they were before and stuff like that.
But even
knock-on effect.
But they could go and buy the best in class. Because Man United was still a draw because of its success and its history.
But the recruitment's not been good.
The recruitment's been poor, and also now what the problem United have got, and the new manager is PSR. That you can want to get rid of 6 or 7 and bring in 4 or 5, and you might even be able to entice them in. But if you haven't got the capability of doing it financially because of PSR, you're then trying to put this jigsaw together that's really difficult to do.
When you say recruitment, though, Dan, what do you mean by that? Because the players that they've bought in have normally done well. See, Anthony at Ajax, he did really well. He's going on loan now. He's doing well. You see McTominay going to Napoli, doing well. And that's why I asked you, alluded to that before. Is it the pressure of Man United that some of the players can't deal with?
Yeah, there's certainly big pressure, but going back to recruitment, Manchester United have spent a lot of money over the last 10 years. Yeah. And I think what they've done, the structure hasn't been there because a certain manager has had a long period of time to put that in place, or the club haven't put that structure of what they want in place. So they're buying players, like we see 90 million on Lukaku, on Pogba, all these players coming in as individuals, and it looks like there hasn't been a long-term plan to have this way of playing, this style, this identity of how we want to play. And then we see a new manager come in who wants his own way of playing, like we're seeing now Manchester United going to a back 3. So every time that's starting to move forward a little bit, it gets ripped up again, and because you've got a different style and different philosophy.
Well, you should applaud that then, if he's sticking by his principles. That's what you want. Because
it's whether the club sticks by their principles of having him.
I think one of the problems, though, Gary, is the fact that, you hear the reports that Man United have to sell to bring players in.
That's what I'm saying.
And that is a difficult part. Normally, historically, Man United could go buy the best players.
And the other thing, even if he gets all the backing in the world and he wants to play this system and he's financially able to bring in players, I'm not sure that system can win the Premier League against the type of teams he's coming up against. It might be more competitive in another season, but I don't think playing that way. Only one team have won the Premier League playing that way, and that was Chelsea. And let's not forget who they had in the middle of the pitch. They had Matic and Kante.
Yeah, exactly.
And they also had Costa and Hazard up the top, which is a bit different.
Well, they've got much better players overall than Manchester United.
But when you're trying to, go and win the Premier League, as the manager's saying there, you need to be in a stable position to bring the best players in. And if I'm a player playing in a different country or in a different club, Manchester United come to try and sign me now, I'm looking, thinking, I'm not sure. You the top players want Champions League football, and unfortunately, that's not where the club are at.
Well, say if you're at Everton now and they come in for you back in, and they're in this position, but you've also got Man City and whoever else coming. You're looking now, and you.
Thanks, Jay.
When I signed for United, United were actually in transition there with, Chelsea were dominating at that period. Arsenal, sorry, then Chelsea were. So we were in transition when I signed, and big reason why I signed was Alex Ferguson.
Yeah.
But because you knew that he'd get it right and he'd build up that team again where it's hard to see that now.
It maybe needs a dominant figure like that. And it'd be interesting if Amorim is that in time, whether he'd be given that time. But we'll see. We should also probably mention Fulham, because this is the earliest that Manchester United have exited the FA Cup as holders since 1997. But Fulham will be delighted. I know it's through penalties, but another away victory for your former club, Danny.
Well, I don't think anybody will care how they've done it. You need a bit of luck sometimes along the way when you win any cup. The club's moving forward really nicely. The stadium's developed. The training ground's better than it's ever been. Everything at the club is moving forward, and Marco Silva is a big factor in that. He's stabilised the club in the Premier League. The recruitment's been good. Winning a trophy, or even getting to Wembley, because they haven't done that for a long time.
Final, that is Fulham Palace.
It's a big
derby.
It's a big, and there's a bit of rivalry there, but it's a game they can win. And then you never know, do you? With all the big
Palace
teams
will be
out.
thinking the same.
Of course they will.
Yeah.
Of course they will. But Fulham fans have been starved of any success for a long time.
What a job Marco Silva
Yeah, he's been better. You'll know more than me, watch Fulham more than me. But it's just, everything he does seems to be meticulous. I think the one worry is that the squad's getting a little bit older now. I think the average age is 27. You want to get young players on for that resale value, but he's done an astonishing job. He really has, and he keeps to improving season on season. He sort of gets players who people were sort of saying they're not good enough at other clubs.
On the periphery.
And then they come in, and then he believes in them. We talked about Adama Traore. He's seen the development. He didn't have the best of games today. Anthony Robertson has proved 10 assists, we mentioned earlier on.
He's a good coach. He improves people.
And that's what you want. We talk about, we'll go back to Amorim, but as well, you have to be able to coach, and that's what Marco Silva is doing. He's getting the best out of the players available to him.
Yeah.
I was actually fortunate to spend a couple of hours with him last season, talking to him.
That was boring.
For him.
Yeah, not him, you. Boring him to death.
But listening to him, he was so passionate, and it didn't feel like that was a manager who's looking to go on to. He was really engrossed and ingratiated himself within the club to try and improve it and stabilise it. And I think you can see it. The players are really on board with what he's trying to do.
Yeah, and they're getting results. I mean, top half of the Premier League is good going for a club like Fulham, isn't it?
It's great, but it's also the way in which they do it. I know it wasn't great today, and it was sloppy, but the majority of games Fulham have played this season have been high energy, front foot, and creative football.